Hey, pro athletes! Ready to dominate your finances and secure your future? Choose Oakbridge Wealth Management, led by wealth manager Chris Anicetti, your ultimate financial planning partner. We tackle your unique financial challenges with a tailored, comprehensive approach. Join top NFL players and experience the Oakbridge difference. Just ask the Miami Dolphins' Alec Ingold. He says the systems and personal service my family received have been outstanding. Ready to take the next step? Connect with Chris on Instagram at OakbridgeWM_Anicetti. That's OakbridgeWM_ANICETE. And become the champion of your financial destiny.
Bernstein again. Big opening. Pass 5. Pass 10. Burgos a man. And he goes all the way to the 15-yard line. 17 yards out the
Welcome back to the Believe in Badgers podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, presented by betonline.ag. Once again, I'm Matt Perkins, joined, as always, by my good friend, Badger legend, the Hebrew Hammer himself, Matt Bernstein. Bernie, how are we doing today?
Oh, dude, we are. Yeah, every day's a holiday on the podcast. We got an RB from my generation.
Yes, sir.
Dude, one of my favorite guys in the locker room. Just a good dude overall, but I'll let Matt Perkins do the intro because he gets amped to do it.
Oh, I mean, like, you know who it is. It's Dwayne Smith. It is Chicagoland's great. Dwayne and I were talking right before we got on that there's a new running back from Chicago coming to Wisconsin next year. But Dwayne, it is outstanding to get to kick it with you today.
Absolutely. I'm grateful and gracious that you guys welcome me on the show. And so I'm glad to be here. And, it's always good to see a former RB legend, Matt Bernstein, so it's been a while. And so I'm thankful. I appreciate you guys.
Oh, for sure.
Matt Perkins, I have so many good memories with Dwayne on and off the field. I just can't. I'm just so excited.
Well, that's good. We'll get into those in just a second. Before we do, want to remind you guys that we are presented by betonline.ag, where they continue to be your number one source for all of your online sports wagering needs. You name it, they've got it over there at BetOnline. MLB season in full swing. Vegas Summer League, I think, is still going on. NFL and college football futures, it's all there at betonline.ag. Head on over to the website. Use our promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BLEAV. That's the promo code at betonline.ag. BetOnline, where the game starts. Bernie, take it away.
I said this before, but dude, Dwayne, we'll get into the backstory, but you showed up and literally probably took your shirt off within 10 minutes, and everyone was like, who the heck is this guy?
Yeah.
Just it's funny because we have Braylon Allen, who is just a muscles, egg, and cheese all day. And I feel like, dude, that's he might not remember. He was probably a very young kid when we were playing, but man, you were cut everywhere. Did you have any fat on you?
Not at that time. Not probably a little bit. Not probably a little bit. Now I like to say I'm still a little bit in shape, after a couple of ordeals. But yeah, I'm still in there. I came in at 18. I definitely wanted to play and be a true freshman. I knew that, so I knew I had to get up there early and get in the mix. And so coming up there, it was a new world. It was a new world, meeting all the guys and being one of the few freshmen that came in early. I remember Enrique. Brandon was up there, B. Will. He was one of the few freshmen that came early as well, and we see what he did. And so, I definitely wanted to come in and have an impact. So, and I was able to do some things as well.
Dude, we'll get into it because I have pictures still on my wall to this day of me blocking for you. Michigan State, 2003.
Oh yeah, that was a great game right there. It was a memorable game. I know that was the game Lee and Sorgi, they had 5 touches that game, and we won. That was the main thing. We won. Lee and Sorgi had their thing, and I had a great game as well. It kind of got overlooked from that 5 touchdowns they had. But, I had a great game as well. I put up I think I had 200 and about 3 touches that game. So it was a fun game. It was a fun game. We was out there having fun, making big plays, and
big plays.
Everybody, big plays, and the stadium was going wild, jump around, everything. So it was good.
Dude, Dwayne, we must have run 29 handoff, and you literally set up the block so I can look like the best fullback ever. You were like coming outside. This dude came up. I blocked him out, and you cut up. And it was like it must have been an 80-yard touchdown. Probably wasn't, but I always think in my head it was 80 yards.
Yeah.
That picture is still framed like to this day. And I'm like, man, look at Dwayne. Look at this guy.
Yeah,
it's just so nice. I haven't seen you in so long, but it's so good to see. Like, I just feel like we'll always be brothers because of this experience we had, which is special.
Absolutely. And I feel the same way. It's like, it's been so long since I seen you, but like you said, it's like once I instantly see you, it's nothing but good times and memories that come back instantly.
Just joy, baby.
Right away. And like you said, I only got to play a couple years with you guys due to my heart condition, but and just being out there, it was like kind of like a fraternity, you know what I mean? In the sense that we was going through the grind and the trenches and the thick of things. And those memories can never be taken away. Those experiences can never be taken away. So absolutely, Bern. I look at you as a brother. No question.
Dude. Oh man, that room, like, couldn't have been more fun and special. We'll get to that because let's go back to the young Dwayne, the maybe non-chiseled like Greek god statue.
Nah, man, he came out the womb as an Adonis. You know that.
Right.
Did you have like ab muscles that was like a 8-year-old?
Nah, I would say I started playing ball at 9, and so that's probably when I started getting a little more cut up. I was probably more what you say a husky child. You know what I mean? A little bit more husky. And then once I started getting into the sports and the physical activities, then I started getting a little bit more cut up. And so, yeah, there we go. I played ball at Washington Park, man.
Paint us a picture of like a young Dwayne. Like, how do you get into football? How do you get into sports? Like, what does that look like? Because you were also the valedictorian of your school?
At my high school, absolutely. So let's get into it. So
see, I remember these things. I got hit a lot, but I remember these things.
There you go. So coming up, like I said, I started playing ball at 9 years old. They had me on the line. I was a defensive, the nose guard. You know, so I remember the first day of contact as a 9-year-old playing nose guard. The center, he snapped the ball, and then as soon as he snapped the ball, instead of blocking me and touching me with his arms on my shoulder pad, he punched me in my stomach. And so I was like, whoa, I was thrown off by that. I didn't know what to do. So I remember that first day of contact playing ball, I was ready to quit. And my pops was like, nah, no, you got to finish this. If you want to stop at the end of the season, then we're going to do that. But we started. So right then and there, my mentality had to change. I knew that I had to come back the next day and be physical. And so I had to go through the thick of things. And I love my father for that. And so, I eventually, so that next year they put me at running back. So like I said, the first year they had me on the line, I played nose guard. Then they saw that I guess they saw something natural in me when I was holding the ball, running, just natural. So they tried me at running back. Then I eventually moved to running back, did some great things there. We played in the Mum Bowl a couple times against KT. Actually, he played for Margate Park as well. So we saw them in the Mum Bowl at Soldier Field. We called it the Mum Bowl, but it's like the Junior Bear League. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's like 10 to 13. And you can be no more than 125 pounds. So it was a weighted situation as well. But the Mumbo would take place in Soldier Field. So I had that opportunity to play there a few times and win. I actually played ball with Kelvin Hayden. Kelvin Hayden played at Washington Park. He eventually went to Illinois, and then he got drafted by the Colts. He actually it's funny, in the Super Bowl against the Bears, when the Colts, he played with Peyton Manning. When the Bears played the Colts in that Super Bowl, he got an interception, ran it back against the Bears. It was bittersweet because it was against us, but he was a hometown guy, so it was crazy. But that just goes to show, like, just playing at Washington Park, the type of guys that I played with. And so that led to high school. And my high school wasn't known as a Mount Carmel, as we talked about, the guy that's coming to Wisconsin to play running back. Mount Carmel is known in Chicago, Catholic League school. It breeds football players. And so my school is more of a Hales Franciscan was more of a basketball school. So we was underlooked, but I still was able to put up good numbers. And I graduated valedictorian as well. That a little backstory to that, real quick, if you will. In 7th grade, I started to act up a little bit in class, and I started to get a little bit more into the ladies, you know what I mean, and get distracted. And so my father, he took football away from me because of that. My grades reflected my lack of effort. and he took it away from me, and I didn't like that, and so education became more of a priority for me because I knew what could be taken, something that I loved, and so which led to me being valedictorian in high school.
Dude, first off, it's amazing that you were valedictorian. I think that's so special. We share a lot of common interests. The ladies have been distracting pretty much forever. Now my wife is distracting. But back in high school, man, you're right, though. It's like, what do you have? I had three things. It was like football, well, my friends, football, and then like the ladies.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope my mother-in-law is not listening to this, but I wasn't getting anywhere. None of them were giving the time of day, but like I was trying.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, as a young man, and as we talking about that, that's a nice little segue too, because even in college, right? The ladies can be a distraction in college as well, and if you guys want to go there, we could go there, and you already know, Burn, so I'm open for that. But in regards to that, it's like I would suggest that for those young athletes coming to college, and for those that's there now, get you a lady, get you one that you could settle down with, somebody that's going to keep you focused, somebody that's going to give you where you have to be somewhere later on at night. You know what I mean? Instead of being distracted with going out all the time, I would definitely suggest, while y'all out there, instead of, you could, a lot of guys out there playing ball, you want to be the ladies, man, that's understandable. But when you got goals and you're trying to achieve goals, the lack of distractions, the less distractions, the better. So, get you one and stay focused. That's my.
But I would say just to piggyback on that, like at least at Wisconsin, to me, it was distracting when you weren't at football. But when you were there, like we were dialed in. Like there was no other interest outside of like the weight room, outside of like practice. I mean, it was pretty intense when we were in the building. I mean, it was really literally all the other stuff that you did outside of Camp Randall mattered not at all until you stepped onto Camp Randall. It was all football all day.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I remember even as a younger guy, because I played my freshman and sophomore year. I had to stop playing after my sophomore year due to my condition. So I just remember, like, no doubt, but I remember like on those days of classes during the week, and you still got to lift and you got to go to practice. It's like, it's still in your mind. You know what I mean? It's like, even though you might be away from the building, it's like, damn, I got to go in here. You know what I mean? I got to go in here, get up, whether you got the early lift because you're a freshman, so you lifting early, however that go. But it was looking back, it was all worth it. And it's all an experience, that might last for this short time. For me, it lasted this small period of time. For others, it might last a longer period of time. But, either way, just while you in it, enjoy it, and but stay focused, especially if you got a goal.
Yeah. So let's jump off of that topic for a second, although we could probably talk about it forever. Let's go back to still high school, Dwayne.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're putting up good numbers. Who's knocking on the door at that time?
So I had a few schools. Michigan State. I got a few letters from Tennessee, but the guys that were the most involved were Illinois, or the schools I should say that was on me real hard was Illinois, Michigan State, Northwestern, and Wisconsin.
Okay.
Big Ten.
Solid group.
Yeah, solid group right there. It was other places like Boston College. I got a little interest from here and there, but I didn't reciprocate that interest. I wasn't as interested in them. But so yeah, and then when it came down to it, my final choices came down between Northwestern and Wisconsin. I was blessed to get the scholarship offer before my senior year, so it was a load off my back going into that year, and especially with me getting hurt, it was crazy. I got hurt in a scrimmage game going into my senior year. We played Marshall, and I didn't get taped. We were scrimmaging. I wasn't. That's a whole nother thing. Like going to my school and then going to Wisconsin, just like being in practice and getting taped. That whole process of knowing how to do things the right way. That was a different experience for me. You know what I mean? And just the elevation. But yeah, high school with.
I was going to say, like, with those things that you had to learn, what was sort of the biggest hurdle for you to learn to adapt? You say, like, getting taped to learn things to do the right way. What were you doing the wrong way that you had to relearn?
I would just say basically those things like that. As far as the wrong way, when it came to the game of football, I was all in from head to toe. So I was willing and ready to do any and everything just to be the best. So it wasn't really about doing anything wrong in the wrong way on that aspect, but just as far as the little things, the small things, just taping up right, and another thing that I would say that I learned that was a difference from high school to college was the film. You know what I mean? That learning my opponent through film and learning the importance of film and tendencies. You know what I mean? And how to watch film. Respect to Coach Brian White. Um, Definitely got it. And it was wild too, because Coach White, he wasn't even a running back, he was a quarterback, but he was so intelligent and he was wise beyond his years when it came to coaching running back. So yeah, he definitely coached me, taught me some things that I didn't know when I got to the higher level.
I mean, Dwayne, you also came in as like a super fluid athlete, like running back.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I feel like, it brings up a lot of good points, like taking care of yourself, taking care of your stuff. Like things in high school, you're like, my shoulder pads are my shoulder pads. But like you took care of your pads, you put them up where they needed to be. Like it's a little kind of like military-esque, being on time for everything, being prepared, having the answers ready. Like you didn't have to have the answers ready in high school, but in college, when Coach White's like, what's your landmark? You better have your landmark known. Yeah.
Hey, I was just talking to my lady real quick. I can share this. So he asked me what's one thing that I needed to tighten up on. And you just kind of brought me that when you said being on time, right? So I was just telling her, it's like one of the main things. So I come in, I'm a true freshman. Who we played? I think it was Fresno State. First game, my first game of the season as a freshman. We played Fresno State. We at the hotel, but we have to be. I didn't know. We had a dinner or whatnot. I don't know if it was. Yeah, it was a night game, so we had dinner, and the dinner was probably at 5:00. So I get there with Booker, Booker Stanley. Booker was my roommate. So we show up at 5:00. I'm thinking we on time. Everybody is in the room, and when we walking in, all eyes on us, watching us, and I'm like, oh man, what happened? And then Coach White whispering in our ears, and I didn't get to. I played special teams that I was supposed to play. I didn't get to play that game as running back because I was being punished for not being on time. Really, on time is 15 minutes early, and being on time is late. That's one thing that I learned going there.
But that to me is the biggest thing I've ever learned at Wisconsin. I don't care what anyone says. That is the biggest. I am horrified if I'm 10 minutes early.
Yeah.
Like dude, I show up at parties. Like if someone says come at 9:00, I'm there at 8:45.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, I'll help you set up. Nobody shows up at 9:00 to a party. Hey. Dude, it's why I have a clock in every room. It's why like I need to know the time because this behavior was built around potentially getting in trouble, showing up 13 minutes. Or dude, Dwayne, what about like when you're in the weight room and if JD walked in and you didn't have a jump rope ready to do jump rope or neck machine, you're like,
you better be on time. Oh, JD, I don't want to say it, but in a way, I mean, I guess I'm exaggerating, but in a way, JD, he garnered more respect than some of the coaches. You know what I mean? Just because you saw him so much, and and he helped develop us in the weight room. He helped develop us as players, not necessarily as far as the technique on playing the game, but just how to transfer the power from the strength room to the field. He understood that, and Coach Bott, Hugh, Herb. I apologize, Herb. So and shout out to Hughes as well, Coach Hughes. I don't know where he is, but since I said his name, shout out to Hughes as well, man. Coach Hughes was man. And you remember Coach Hughes, man? He was a great guy, man. I love Coach Hughes. But he was hard on them linemen. He was hard on them linemen.
Dude, he's hard on the fullbacks. That's why you like him, because you were a halfback.
I didn't have a problem with him. I didn't have that problem with him. Oh man.
Wait, so let's go back. So you're between Northwestern and Wisconsin. Who was recruiting you at the time?
Oh wow. Man, please. I can't even remember. I'm sorry. What was our coach? Because he actually went to Mount Carmel too, the linebacker coach. Who was our coach? I can't. I apologize to Coach too, man.
The line,
Coach
it wasn't
Cosgrove?
Cosgrove?
Cosgrove, Coach Cosgrove. He recruited.
Okay.
Coach Cosgrove recruited me. Respect to Coach Cosgrove. Came to my school a couple times. Coach White came to my school, and then at Northwestern, it was Coach Brown, I believe. He was the defensive back coach.
Mhm.
He was the DB. So it was funny how I had defensive coaches recruiting me for offense, but it worked. Yeah, so those were the specific coaches.
So when you met Coach White for the first time,
Yeah.
what is your impression of that man?
So the first time I met Coach White, I was thinking, it was like it was like, I don't want to say Hollywood, but he had like a aura to him. He kind of had an aura to him, in the sense that a big smile on his face, welcoming, and he was cool. I saw him as a cool guy. It's a lot of things about Coach White. He welcomed us into his home for the barbecues, the burgers. It's nothing but good things I could say about Coach White. Nothing but good things.
No, nothing but good things.
What was your impression about Coach White? What was your impression about?
Pretty much the same. I was shell shocked when I got coming off of I went to a small high school in New York.
Yeah.
So we did things a certain way, and we were really good in our little space.
Mm-hmm.
But when you show up to Wisconsin, man, this is I remember walking up to the seminary going, this is where these guys stay for 3 weeks to
oh my
go
goodness.
eat. Everything you do there, the scale, I was not prepared for it. I was not prepared to see the size of the human beings in the rooms.
Absolutely.
And these linemen are 6'6", 315 pounds, and they're monsters. They're not fat, lumbering dudes. And then, I met Coach White. It just is he was exciting to be around. You wanted to play for him because he was upbeat. His energy was hot, was high.
Yeah.
And I don't remember him ever not being, his energy not being high.
Yeah, I don't either. I know what he was like in the film room though. Especially if you wasn't on your job, he gonna let you know, and you needed that. One thing I say about Coach White though, one thing that I didn't like that he used to teach us or coach us up on was the fist through the face mask. It was that was the coach, and no shot, no diss to him at all. It was just man, this is not the way. It was my hands, oh.
Well, for you, it wasn't. For me, I had to do that. Yeah, so it's a little different. So I was going to guess, if you let me guess one, I was going to guess that cut drill. You could never cut the dude right.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
He'd be cut the bag.
I didn't mind the cut drill. I didn't mind it. But
Coach White loved you. You were good at everything, dude.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you this.
To the face mask.
Yeah. But you know what? When we had to block here and there, on the pass plays, he would teach that up. It was man, this is my hands, coach. I would do it. I would do it because you're gonna see yourself on the film, so you got to do it. And once you got enough calluses on your knuckles, you'll be all right. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And I also really enjoyed that. Coach White, he really took time to teach you landmarks, jump cuts. He might have done it in a quirky way, but the amount of knowledge he was consistent too. So if you came in, you knew nothing, he would have helped you. And it was consistent and it never changed. And it was the same landmarks, the same things. And once you picked it up, man, it became pretty easy.
Absolutely.
At least knowledge wise.
Absolutely. Like you speaking on right now with the landmarks, knowing where you should start your just how you start in your route to whatever run you have to make to whatever hole. One of the main things that I first heard from Coach White, and then it seemed like it spread like wildfire, was high and tight. I never heard that before until I got to Wisconsin. High and tight, and then it's you see it. It's people pick it up. You saw Tiki Barber start to incorporate it into his to stop him from fumbling, and then it kind of just spread. And that's one thing he did teach us. And like you said, jump cuts. he knew the running back position, odd enough, as a quarterback, and but he definitely knew it, and so yeah, he did. He was a great teacher. He was.
Did you, what else did you enjoy? Like, what else did he say that you like enjoyed? Just kind of like a Coach Brian CB Dub like ism.
He would say, I ain't gonna lie, I don't remember all his little sayings. He had so many. But you know what? I do remember, and I know you remember this too. I remember Russ being a senior, and Russ would let Coach have it in the room. You know what I mean? When we was in there in the meeting rooms, Russ was not afraid to let Coach White know what he had on his mind. You know what I mean? It was amazing to see as a freshman. You know what I'm saying? And not to say that he was just real disrespectful, but you know, he wouldn't bite his tongue. And Coach White was cool enough to let him speak his mind, and you know, and Coach White would speak his mind as well, but he wasn't the type to shun you for, you know, going off on him. You know what I mean?
You're making me think of so many good.
Yeah,
you're making me think of so many good stories, dude. You're right, because I think one time Russ hit a dude hard, but hit him with his face, and he's like, "Russ, you're not supposed to headbutt this guy." Yeah. And Russ is like, "You're teaching me to lead with my face and my hands."
Right.
He's like, "I don't get it." And he's like, "But no, you're not. You're headbutting the guy." Yeah. And he like would break it down slow mo, and you could see Russ like hit him and then like headbutt him at the end. God, did you see that?
It's like, Russ, your head, man. We can't keep doing this, Russ.
It's so funny.
Attention athletes. Are you ready to take control of your financial future and score big off the field? Oakbridge Wealth Management, led by wealth manager Chris Anicetti, is your all-star team of financial experts, specifically catering to professional athletes like you. We tackle your unique financial challenges head-on, so you can focus on what you do best. Our comprehensive and adaptive approach sets us apart. Starting with our strategic partners, we create a seamless, frictionless experience tailored to your financial journey. Our services evolve alongside your career, from cash flow management and major purchases to estate planning and long-term investments. Don't wait until the fourth quarter. Secure your financial legacy now and reap the benefits of our expertise through your career and beyond. With Oakbridge, you'll gain peace of mind, financial freedom, and a solid game plan for the future. Top NFL players like Chase Boulier, Alec Ingold, Tyler Biadasz, and more have already joined our winning team, and now it's your turn. Here's what former Badgers All-American and Dallas Cowboys center Tyler Biadasz has to say. From the beginning, Chris guided me in setting financial goals and provided me with the necessary tools. He's been a constant support, like a brother, throughout my life. His guidance played a crucial role in my NFL journey. It's time to elevate your financial game plan. Connect with Chris on Instagram at OakbridgeWM_Anicetti. That's OakbridgeWM_ANICETE. And join the winning team.
You showed up and you were in the same class with Booker, and you walked into the room with me, AD, and Russ Kuntz. Absolutely. Wait, Train? Was Train in there? He just graduated.
I think Train was trying to get back. He was trying to get back. If I'm not mistaken, he was doing the spring ball that year, but I think something happened with his grades or something, and so he wasn't able to play. But yeah, it was a lot of guys. It was Tony. I can't remember the other guy that came with B. Will from. He was a running back too, but then he moved to DB. And then from Texas, my man from Texas.
Phil Fuller.
Yeah, Phil Fuller. You know Phil. What's up, fool? Say fool. What's up, fool?
Dude, Phil was a fun dude to be around.
Man, hey, Phil Fuller, he was coming with the Texas slang, and he was like, "Say fool," and I'm like, "Fool? Like, nah, I'm not the fool, bro. What's going on?" But that was the slang, though, so I get it. Yeah, Phil, he put us up on the screwed up, the slow, the what is that, chopped and screwed up music before it became a thing. Like, it was wild. Before Paul Wall and all them, he was telling us about them guys. Yeah.
John Jones or Mike Jones.
Yeah, Mike Jones. Yeah. All of them.
Yeah, DJ Screw. Slim Thug.
Phil Fuller was putting us in the game, and And I would hear it, and I was like, nah, I can't really get it, but it eventually blew up, and yeah, so it is. Shout out to Phil. Shout out to all of them.
Listen,
AD,
I used to love sitting around Phil, just listening. His experience and my experience are completely different.
absolutely.
And I was like, man, Phil, just talk to me, man. Like, what's going on? How's your life? How's Wisconsin? And you never didn't smile. Like, and he was a positive kid. Like, he really was.
Hey, one thing we got to say about Phil was a habitual line stepper, like, as they would say, in the sense that I remember Phil, he would do some wild stuff, man. He would. And to the point, I remember he missed the lift before. Like, those were things that you did. This like forbidden rules. Like, you don't miss a lift. You might lose your scholarship. You might get sent home. He was missing lifts. I remember he missed a practice before, like an actual football practice. And it was like, man, like, but he still was there. So he had his. But I remember that. And I don't mean it's. This is years ago. So it's just a little fun. Man. Talk about it.
It's happened. People sleep through it. Who knows?
Yeah.
I enjoyed Phil a lot, but you show up, dude. This room is like, it's a pretty solid room, and a lot of kind of these guys are. Some of us are pretty wild. Mm-hmm. What's that like? As like we were all pretty young, except for Russ. Really,
right?
He was a senior in the group. I was a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
AD was a redshirt sophomore. So we're real young guys.
Yeah. What's
it like to show up in that room with us? And then what's it like to be with like Booker and Phil also?
Well, I say this. I was like, whenever I get into a situation that I'm new to, I tend to stay quiet and be observant. So I know I was observant, but also just being from the environment that I'm from, Chicago, I still was an outgoing guy. It was a couple people I knew, like Jason Jefferson. He was my host when I came there. So I kind of was in tune with him and Clink and a couple of the defensive guys, just because you know how they ride together. We remember those days, the D-line. And then I also knew Big Los, Carlos. He went to Leo, so he was from Chicago as well. And so there was a couple people I knew. So I was everything was cool. I'll tell you this. One shocker that I had was Darius Jones, though. Darius, man, when being in the locker room, being a freshman, and Darius running around the locker room naked and, you know what I'm saying, just doing wild stuff. It's like, what's going on? What we doing? And
hold on. With all the crazy stuff coming out of Northwestern, let's just go for a second. Say he was not doing anything besides like he was doing. I remember he would do like basketball layup drills. He would tape a ball together, get naked, and then do like layup drills against the wall. So he wasn't really like offending anyone or hazing. It was just like weird. You're like, what the hell is?
Absolutely.
That was a shocker for me too.
Yeah, let's be clear. He was not assaulting anyone. He wasn't forcing himself on anyone. He was just being a clown, just having fun and making people, like what we said about being in camp, when we actually had 2 days where we actually had to go to the seminary and we couldn't leave until it was over. And he was just one of those guys that made the energy, to up the energy, to keep people laugh. That was on edge, the tense situations of playing ball, and and wanting to be good and wanting to have a spot on the team. So yeah, not at all. He, it was all.
I just want to preface it because it really was. It was not in like a negative way. It was just really like you're saying. It was just bringing people up and at least making you forget about like sitting in this gym on a plastic chair with fans. And remember they used to put the tarp on the floor so you could sweat, all your sweaty stuff would go on it. So like you look like you were in like this garbage bag room with all people's stuff, nothing nice. Yeah. And then Darius Jones like doing a layup line naked, and you're like, it was kind of funny, man.
And then he might have a helmet on. It was all in fun. It was he probably had a helmet on.
Yeah, I've walked by the locker room sometimes, and it would be him, maybe a couple other dudes sitting in the hot tub with like their pads on, like helmet, shoulder pads, jersey, and you're like, well, these guys.
It might have been Donovan. Rayola could have been one of them because I remember Donovan. Rayola was a good guy. Hey, Donovan was we talking about fun times right now. We're not talking. Totally. The Northwestern situation is very unfortunate, but no, we're not talking about nothing like that. We just talking about guys keeping the edge off in regards to just having fun, because it's football could be a lot of pressure. Just wanting to be the best and have success on the field.
And when you're only doing one thing, like at football camp, we literally were sleeping there.
Yeah.
You had film 3 times a day. You had practice twice a day. You had a nap in between. Like there was really no time to do anything else. So when anyone did something that was at least funny or a little off, you're like, man, this is a good 2-minute break from like my reality.
Yeah. You know what else I remember? Do you remember? This was my freshman year, but this was when we had camp, and they brought a guy in to do the some hypnosis.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and Brownie. I remember Brownie got hypnotized, and it was a couple other guys that got.
Oh, and Jerome Pettis was in that room.
Yeah, Pet got
and Pet got hypnotized hard.
Hey, you know what? Hey, is this like PG or something? Or what's this?
You can say whatever you want to say. Dantes Sanders has already tested all the limits you could possibly imagine.
I bet. So look, I remember in that session, Pet, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like Pet was the one. He was like, man, when he got hypnotized, he was like, you gotta. I don't know why he said what made him speak about this while he was hypnotized, but he was like, you gotta lather your. He was just you gotta lather. He's like some people don't know how to wash their right. You gotta lather your nuts, man. You gotta make sure it's real soapy, man. And I was like, hey,
yo,
hey, but you know what? After that, I ain't gonna lie. After that day, man, I be making sure my be real soapy.
Everyone on the team, yo. So let me go back for a second. So the guy was like, hey. He's like, Jerome, come down here. And he's like, yo, the hypnotist was like, yo, the guy next to you stinks. And he's like, what's your advice? That's what it was. He's like, I want to let you. He's like, man, I remember that. And he's like, you gotta use antibacterial soap, and you gotta let your off. I was like, first off, we're all at camp. And 900 people are laughing hysterically. Not just at this. Do you remember when they were like, Byron, you're in a plane crash? And he's like,
right. And then he told him to spread his wings, and he put his arms out by his side like he was as if those were his wings. And he telling them to fly. And it was amazing. What was like they was really hypnotized.
Like really?
That was funny. Do you remember Calvin? Calvin was trying to pretend like he was hypnotized. Do you remember that? He was faking like he was hypnotized, but then they figured it out that he really wasn't.
Man, the Jerome Pettis hypnotist thing literally is one of my favorite memories. And Byron just freaking out too.
Absolutely.
Oh man. So wait, let's get back to some football stuff because we're running out of time.
Absolutely.
So dude, you come in, AD's the starter, Pet's the backup at this point. Mm-hmm. Everyone's young. Those guys are both redshirt sophomores. And you knew you could play. Like, what's that feeling of like going into practice? Like you Booker, I would say you and Booker were fighting it out for like the third spot, but like that spot plays a lot. So like, what's that feeling coming in and having the opportunity to play like right away?
Well, it was I was blessed and thankful, absolutely. And then I was in the mindset that the whole time, I'm sure you had the same mindset too, Bern. Playing ball and being good. Because once you get to the college level, everybody at that level was the man at the high school, or you know what I mean. So I was used to being effective on the field, and so I still had that mentality. Even though I was at the next level, I saw guys that were bigger than me. I wasn't intimidated because the other thing I knew playing football, a scared man, a dead man. As the saying goes. So you can't play scared. That's how you get hurt. So I never went on the field with that mentality. And so and I always thought that I felt that I was something special. And so and I just took my time. Who else was a running back, but he moved over to linebacker, Lamar Watkins. And
Lamar Watkins. Right.
Yeah, he played linebacker, but he ended up playing linebacker, but he came in as a running back. And I remember watching him. He was one of the guys when we first got there. He was still a running back, and he was always running like any drill. He wanted to get there first. You know what I mean? At first, I kind of took offense to it, like, man, look at him. He thirsty. He trying to show the coaches that he gonna get there. And so, but then I just, me and Lamar is my man. We cool. But I was, just being a competitor, it's like, oh, I see what he's trying to do. He's trying to get there first. So I played it cool, and I just made sure, even though he would get there first, that's fine. But I just made sure that when I had to do what I had to do, that I did my thing. And it was just a thing about believing in yourself. Kind of like what Coach White would say, how he'd say, trust your speed.
Mm-hmm.
It was in a sense that I just trusted myself and my abilities. And I knew that if I got the ball in my hand and I could show my ability to the coaches, that they would see that I was somebody that should play the game. And I didn't see myself as a smaller guy too. That's another thing. The coaches didn't put me on a weight program and say I had to gain a certain amount of weight or I needed to lose a certain amount of weight. And so I was ready to play. And I thought that in my mind as well. So,
but physically, you were ready to play too. You came in like 230, literally no fat chisel.
Yeah, I did.
I remember seeing you locker room. I'm like, who the heck is this guy?
Right.
Like I've been here for 2.5. I'm fatter than fat, and this guy comes in, and I'm like, man,
hey,
Dwayne's
what's
built
wild
differently.
too, Bern? I remember my sophomore year, Coach Alvarez had Coach White. I guess he wanted Coach White to kind of move me over to fullback a little bit. And I was like, nah, I'm a running back. So I remember and Coach White was telling me this. And but I just remember in spring ball, I was balling out at running back, and I made it to where they couldn't do that. This was before the sophomore year. And so they kept me in running back. But I remember it seemed like they was trying to, because I was getting bigger, you know what I mean? Since I was on that JD weight program and I was getting bigger. So they tried to move me over, but I stayed.
Was Greg in the room when you showed up?
Greg?
Yeah, Root.
Oh yeah, Root was there. Absolutely.
Root was there?
No. Root wasn't there. Root eventually, because he was
moved
a
over
linebacker.
that. Yeah.
He came over. I want to say he came over like my sophomore year. I don't even think he was there. I think my freshman year it was just Russ. Was he in the room where Russ was still there?
Dude, everything is so blended now. I think he was in the room with Russ.
He might have been in the room with Russ. I think you're right.
He was in the room with Russ.
So he probably came over that same year that I came in.
Yeah, I think that's right, because he's got a lot of Russell J stories.
Yeah.
I think he like smoothly just transitioned from linebacker into the room, and like we're like, hey, dude, welcome. Like, and I can't tell you what year it was.
And Russ was my roommate after me and Book was late. We was on time, but we was late. Yeah. We was no longer roommates for games, and Russ became my roommate. And so they put me with the older guy, man. Yeah,
I'm sorry to laugh. It's just so funny because it's so true.
Yeah,
I mean, literally, it's so true.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't stop laughing at some of these.
Hey, Bern, I wouldn't mind. Just on a serious note for all the guys that watch this that play ball too, you know what I mean? Just, that's why I said what I said earlier, man. I think it's important that, the guys understand that when you focused out there, when you have a goal and you play football, like, because I had this situation that happened to me in regards to where I was falsely accused of rape. And I think it's important to talk about that on this platform. You know what I'm saying? With the guys that I'm not afraid to talk about it, because I know the truth, and the truth came out. You know what I mean? That I'm innocent and it didn't happen. But I think it should be spoken on for the guys that are younger, who's playing ball, the guys that's coming out of high school to go to college. That's why I said what I said. You could have a lot of fun and being an athlete, being the top guy, having a spotlight on you. You can garner a lot of attention. And it's important during those times, it's important that you keep ones that you trust around you. It's important that, you protect yourself, because that you protect yourself from others and from yourself from making ill decisions, whether it's drinking too much, whether it's just being out and partying too much. That's why I say get you a girl and somebody that keep you focused and you'll have somewhere to be. You know what I mean? It's nothing wrong with being around the guys, hanging out with the guys, but when you got a lot of females around, and I love women. Let me state that I love my mother, I have my sister, I love my lady, I love my daughter, I love women. So I don't want to seem like I'm bashing women, but it's just important that you stay focused as an athlete, as a student athlete. That makes because we talking about student athletes here. You're a student first, and knowing that it's more to life than just partying. That and so I think that it's important that I put that out there for the guys, and I just want to make sure I say that while I'm on this platform.
Yes.
No,
First of all, I was gonna say, like, thank you, and I wanted to talk to you about some of, because you hit some tough times also with your body. You had to medically retire due to football, and that, I cannot imagine the pain of having that ripped away from you like that. Are you okay talking about that for a little bit?
Yeah, I am now. I'm absolutely. So I was in a depression state, but I didn't admit to it. I didn't think I was, but I definitely when like going into my junior year of camp. So I played freshman. I was a true freshman, played sophomore year. Going into junior year, I had the plans on. I was going to leave after my junior year to go to the league. I was, how in camp, how they have the older guys, they have those meetings with the agents when they come in before camp, Burn. And so I remember we had those meetings before camp, and then with the wild thing was that whole year is kind of, that was 2004, because the beginning of the year I was dealing with the legal situation, and then in the fall we had camp, and then they hear a murmur, and then from that murmur they do a further research, and then they said it's hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is a thickness of the walls of the heart, and which can constrict the blood flow, and so which is why I couldn't play. And I just know when they told me that, they took me to the University of Wisconsin to get the follow up on that, and that's where I was diagnosed. And when they told me that, I was thinking like, okay, man, whatever. I got to get to practice. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then I was, at first I was mad about it because I didn't have to go to that appointment. Like, they set me up with an appointment. We in camp. They heard a murmur. Then they set me up with an appointment like the next day, and I was missing practice to go to this appointment. And I was thinking like, man, I shouldn't even go to this. But I went, and then they told me that, and then I'm thinking like, yeah, I got to get back to practice. I'm running late. And then I get back, and then I saw Coach White, and then I just broke down, like, But now it took about, man, I don't know, 5 to 10 years to get over that. You know what I mean? And I eventually got out of it, and I got into teaching. I taught at the high school level. I taught at the grammar school level. I'm a math guy, so I got into math. And then dealing with my heart, that still was an issue that I couldn't get rid of, and so I ended up having a transplant in 2021. April 23rd, I had a heart transplant. So yeah, because it seemed like it just kept getting worse over time, and
damn, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I'm still ticking. We still here, and yeah, life is good.
Dude, Dwayne, I'm so sad. Again, I'm sad, not in like for you now, but like back then, I was devastated.
Yeah.
I mean, the team was. I hope you know that. Like, we all were just so.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know how the guys were, but I do know I was never shunned. I know the guy. It was still like we were still brothers, even to this day. And whenever I came around, it was always love. I remember like the year I couldn't play, I still was there coaching around, kind of helping. But then after that, it was hard for me to be around because I wanted to play and I couldn't. So then I couldn't be around. Then that's when the depression started, like after that season. That season that I was still around the guys. Maybe I should have stayed around and coached, but mentally I wasn't. I couldn't do it. But maybe that would have helped.
Was there any support in place at the time to help you through that transition?
Well, one of the things the coaches did do. Remember, Coach Hammock? He was around at that time. He was like a running backs coach, and he came from Northern Illinois. And it was odd enough. I remember thinking like, man, he had the same thing happen to him, and it was just odd. I remember thinking like, man, he come over here, and now I got it. You know what I'm saying? It's like the same. It was like, man, it was like eerie, and this is no disrespect to him. Nothing but the best. I want nothing but the best for him. But just a young male, just that's how I felt. It was like, wow, now I have to deal with this. So he was kind of a guy that they had there that I could talk to. But just at that time, I remember like I wasn't going to class a lot, and I wasn't talking to my parents, and they was calling me. I wouldn't answer the phone, and I remember Coach Hammock, he showed up. I don't know how he got in the house. Anyway, I was rooming with, it was me, Booker, Rue, and Posiak. We was all
That was the what was
right
it
there by
called?
the KK. We was right there by the KK.
Yeah. Right next door. It was new at the time.
Yeah, it was new, right? We was in there.
Now it's very not new. But yeah.
And so we was all in there. So maybe one of them, but Coach Hammock maybe Book let him in because Book was running back too. So, but Coach Hammock, I remember I was laying in the bed. Coach Hammock came and got me, said, "Coach White want to talk to you." And so they took me to the office, and he was just like, "Yeah, what's going on?" Checking in on me and saying, "Your parents worried about you. They haven't heard from you." And then it was wild. I remember I came back home and I'm walking toward my building, and all of a sudden I look to my left and I see my parents in the car, and they just drove up here on me, to check up on me, So yeah, I was going through it, man. It was, as far as, I guess it was somebody there for me to talk to answer your question. Coach Hammock, they had Coach Hammock there as someone I could speak to, but I wasn't willing to really use that help.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want the help. I was trying to go, you know what I mean? I really wasn't over the fact that I couldn't play. You know what I'm saying? I still wanted to play. And I remember when I finally graduated, I did hold on one second. That's somebody and I came back. I tried to play some arena ball. So I went and did a couple of practices with the Chicago Slaughter. The head coach was a former 85 Bear, but and I already told them about my situation. They knew, and they was like, yeah, you can sign away. My mentality was, at this time, I was willing to down the field. I was trying to get the coaches to let me play and sign a waiver and stuff. Like even Coach White and Coach Alvarez, but they can't do that. But my mentality was, we all got to die one day. Why not go doing what you love doing? But they can't do that. You know what I mean? And I was willing to do it though.
I think the hardest thing, and for you, it was a lot different and it came out of nowhere, is when football does end. There is, at least for me, for a lot of dudes, there really isn't a support. I think at Wisconsin now they talk about, life after football.
Right.
But nobody was talking about that when we were playing. Right. And then all of a sudden for you, it happens
fast.
A day, in one day.
Yeah.
So I can relate. I'm sure hundreds of thousands of guys can relate. Yeah. But dude, I don't want to say you should, but I'm gonna, because dude, you should have played in the NFL for a long time. I mean, you were good, dude. I mean, you were really good, and you were young. And imagine 2 more years, you and AD Book just sharing it, not getting beat up. Man, with me as a fullback, damn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw the same thing for you, Bern. It was and I know you had the hernia situation, right? And it was besides that was you. It was move over, Mike Allstott. You know what I'm saying? It's like Bern. When I think about it, it was the talent that you possessed. It was unreal, man, because I remember that year I couldn't play as a junior. Then you emerged as a running back. I'm talking about so much so that where you jumping over people in the game, and it's wow, this Bernie is out here killing them. So it was even though, and then we also got why I can't from Colorado.
Brian Calhoun.
BC.
Brian Calhoun. Then Brian Calhoun came over. So it was even though I couldn't play anymore, you emerged. Calhoun came through, transferred over. So long live the Badgers, and we still ticking. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We are still ticking.
I love
it.
Dude,
I know we have a couple more minutes, but listen, we would have scored more touchdowns that night against Pennsylvania if you were in the game. Shoot, I made some terrible cuts when I watched the film, and I'm like, man, Dwayne would have scored 3 touchdowns in this game. We would have killed him.
Yeah.
We would have killed him. So Dwayne, I know we talked about a lot of deep stuff. You're bringing my emotions on a roller coaster here, which is fine.
Yes,
we only have 4 more minutes. I just want to ask, what are some of your most positive memories? What are some of your favorite things you did on the field, maybe off the field?
Absolutely. I was thinking, it's funny you asked me that, and I'm gonna start with this because I was thinking about this like maybe 2 days, 3 days ago. I remember it always felt good to go to the hospitals, man. You know, like being able to, we had the opportunities as a player to, you could go to the hospitals to see the sick children or whatnot. And I felt like, and this was before, I think this was on like a Friday, but the games would be on a Saturday. You can have those opportunities. And I always, you know, I made sure that I was able to do that. And I felt that I like that, you know. I just like the look in their eyes, and you know, because the badge, it's either the Packers or the Badgers in Wisconsin. You know, you pick your choice. And now it's the Bucks. Now it's the Bucks. I got to give it up. Now it's the Bucks too. But and so for when we came through there and we saw how their eyes lit up, or the parents were looking, that did a lot for me, just for my spirit. It made me feel good to see that. So that's one thing that I like to do off the field. Another thing that I like to do, of course, was, you know what? I think my best game, Michigan State, Illinois. I used to give Illinois the business too. Illinois used to get some work too. That's because they wanted me to play running back though. Like they was interested in me, but I'm sorry, they wanted me to play fullback, and I didn't want to play fullback. So like I said, Illinois, they was interested, but I'm like, no. So I used to get them some work. But to me, my favorite game was against Iowa. 03, that defensive team they had, it was about, out of 11 guys, maybe 7 of them went to the league. And I gave them like $126, had like maybe 1 or 2 touches that game. So I felt good about that, just looking back. Like, even though I ain't make it to the league, it's like that defense, that 03 Iowa defense, they had a squad. And we lost that game like at the last second too. We lost that game. We was on offense marching down. So that was a good memory. And then just being with the guys at barbecues, upper decks, you know, like those moments, like it's like, you know, one of my favorite shows is Forged in Fire. I know we got like 2 minutes. I know my favorite shows is Forged in Fire. And to me, the upper decks, the weight room, like we was forged in fire, you know what I'm saying? And we bonded. And those are some of my favorite moments.
Well,
I'll give you a quick, Matt Perkins, give me 1 second. I just think it's so cool because you and I literally spent hours upon hours together in a room, in a weight room, on Fridays together. Like that stuff, you forge in fire is like that brotherhood, no matter where we are living. I haven't spoken to you in a ton of years.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's really special.
It's forged. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll still run through a wall for you. Believe me. I will.
I love you, Burn. I love you. You know what I mean? For real.
Yeah. With Matt Perkins, ask your last question.
Well,
I know we got to go.
Your talent's not limited to the football field. For people who don't know, Dwayne is also an absolutely extraordinary MC.
Oh yeah, I do that too. Oh yeah.
With the basically 30 seconds we have left, how did you get into the rap game, and what made you want to spend a good amount of your time crafting that skill?
Great question. I've been writing since I was 11, so it was always there. It was just a hobby while I was playing football. But when I finally had to let go of football, the music saved me. It was my therapy. Like I said, I didn't really talk to too many people, but the music, I was able to vent through the music, and that saved me. And so I love it. It's not, I can't express myself the same as on the field, but I love it. I love it. And so that's what kind of helped me go all the way there.
And we're gonna link to Dwayne's his page, his Instagram. You got to listen in. I think you got a SoundCloud too, right? We'll get you up there. We'll get the word out. Don't you worry.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, we cannot thank you enough for joining us here today on the Believe in Badgers Football podcast, presented by BetOnline.ag and Oak Bridge Wealth Management. Dwayne Smith, Matt Bernstein. Until next time, on Wisconsin.
Yes, on Wisconsin. Yeah.